Hi everybody, I hope this video finds you doing well today. We are coming together to discuss Unidad 4, Lección 2, which takes place in España again. And I'm really sad to say this is our final chapter together, which makes me so sad because I've really enjoyed getting to work with you all and emailing you and talking to you, and it's just been great. So I am really going to miss all of you. But I know you're probably happy this is your final chapter. So, Unidad 4, Lección 2, here we are going to be learning how to identify vocabulary related to places and events in a town, types of transportation like bus, subway, etc., and foods and beverages. After completing this chapter, you should be able to also understand stem changing verbs. You already learned about E to IE stem changing verbs in our last chapter. And here we're going to learn about the other types of stem changers, E to I, O to UE, and we'll also talk briefly about U to UE stem changers. So let's get started with a little reading. Here in letter A, you see, en el centro de Madrid hay muchos lugares para comer. Maribel y yo queremos ir a la calle de Alcalá para encontrar un buen restaurante. ¿Vamos a pie, en coche o en autobús? So, en el centro de Madrid. Centro is exactly what it looks like, the center. The center of a town usually refers to the downtown area. So in downtown Madrid, hay muchos lugares para comer. There are lots of places, lugares, para comer, places to eat. Yum. Okay, Maribel y yo queremos ir a la calle de Alcalá para encontrar un buen restaurante. So Maribel and I, we want to go to Alcalá Street in order to encontrar, in order to find un buen restaurante, a good restaurant. And he asked, well, vamos a pie? Should we go on foot? Vamos a pie? En coche? In a car? Or in autobús? On a bus? And you see all of those illustrated for you here. A pie? On foot? En coche? In a car? Or in autobús? In a bus? Let's keep looking. Letter B tells us that in el menú hay muchos platos principales. Si te gusta la carne, hay bistec. Si no, también hay pescado. So in el menú, on the menu, be careful there, it's not el menú, it's el menú. On the menu, hay muchos platos principales. There are lots of main dishes. Si te gusta la carne, if you like meat, hay bistec. There's steak. Si no, también hay pescado. So if you don't like steak or you don't like meat, también hay pescado. There's also fish, and you can see those things here. El bistec and el pescado over here. Also some other foods that are here that aren't mentioned. You see las patatas, the potatoes, las patatas. El pollo, the chicken. Las verduras, the vegetables. And as we look at those vegetables, it looks like we have here some pimientas, peppers, espárragos, asparagus, zanahorias, carrots, and judías verdes, some green beans. There's also an ensalada here, a salad, la ensalada, and the ensalada has tomate, tomato. There's some broccoli over here on the plate beside the steak, el broccoli. And then down here we have el pastel, the cake. Now, since we are in Spain, I have to tell you this. In Spain, they do not say pastel when referring to cake. They use the word tarta, which I know is kind of weird. Okay, and then over here we see el menú. The waiter, el camarero, is holding the menú. Let's take a look here at letter C. La cuenta es 25 euros. ¿Cuánto dinero necesitamos para la propina? It tells us that la cuenta, which you see here, the check or the bill, is 25 euros, 25 euros. ¿Cuánto dinero necesitamos para la propina? How much money do we need for the tip? ¿Cuánto dinero necesitamos para la propina? As you look at letter D, continuing our storyline, you can see here it says, tomamos el autobús para ir al cine. Let's take the bus in order to go to the movie theater. Tomamos el autobús para ir al cine. Vamos al cine para ver una película. So we're going to the movie theater so that we can ver una película, so that we can see a movie. Now you can see here el cine, the movie theater. La ventanilla, the ticket window where you're buying your tickets. And las entradas, the tickets themselves. Letter E tells us that aquí en Madrid también hay teatros y parques, pero yo prefiero ir a un concierto para escuchar música. So aquí en Madrid, here in Madrid, también hay teatros. There also are theaters, teatros, y parques, parks, but, yo prefiero ir a un concierto para escuchar música. But, yo prefiero ir, I prefer to go a un concierto, to a concert, a concierto, para escuchar música, to listen to music. Our last letter here finishes up by saying, vamos a un café. De postre, nos gusta pedir un pastel. Después, Maribel está muy cansada. Es la hora de dormir. So, vamos a un café. Let's go to a cafe. And you can see a photo here of a café in Europa. It says de postre, for dessert, de postre. Nos gusta, we like, to pedir un pastel. Now, we just said a second ago a pastel is a cake. The word pedir means to order. So, hey, let's go to a cafe. For dessert, we like to order cake. Después, Maribel está muy cansada. So, after eating that cake, después, Maribel está muy cansada. She's very tired because es la hora de dormir. It's the hour of sleep, or it's bedtime, we might say. Es la hora de dormir. You can see her there sleeping. And then one more word that you see over here is la mesa, which means the table. La mesa. Okay, so let's give you a chance to practice here with your vocabulary just a little bit. It says here, diversiones en el centro. So fun times downtown. Diversiones en el centro. It's going to give you a description of something, and you have to decide what it is that it's describing. So let's take a look here. Número uno dice, es una persona que trabaja en un café. So es una persona, it's a person, que trabaja en una café, a person who works in a cafe. Well, that person would be a waiter or a waitress, and we know that the word for waiter or waitress in Spanish is camarero or camarera. So we should say letter C here, camarera. Number 2 tells us, es el lugar a donde vas para comer. So es el lugar, it's the place, a donde vas, where you go, para comer, to eat. So the place where you go to eat, that is el restaurante, letter B. Okay, I want you all to take a moment, pause your audio, and please give numbers 3 through 6 a try. When you're ready, you can unpause. Okay, so let's take a look at these. Number 3 tells us that vas aquí para ver una película. You go here in order to watch a movie. Well, that would have to be the movie theater, which in Spanish is el cine, letter E. Number 4 tells us that la necesitas para ir a un concierto. So la necesitas, it you need, or you need it, para ir a un concierto, to go to a concert. Well, to get into the concert, you have to have a ticket. So we should put la entrada, letter D, la entrada. Number 5, lo comes después del plato principal. So you eat it after the main dish. Well, that has to be dessert, el postre, el postre. And number 6, compras entradas aquí. You buy tickets here. Well, that's the ticket window, la ventanilla, letter A. Okay, hopefully you're feeling okay about those things. I do want to very quickly bring to your attention here the verb ver. Ver is an irregular yo verb, so it's normal in all of the tenses except for the yo form. Ver means to see. So when we say I see, we can't just chop off the ER and add an O. It's not just vo. Instead, it becomes veo. Veo means I see. So in this sentence, veo muchos autobuses en el centro. I see lots of buses downtown. So I just wanted to let you know about that. The big grammatical focus of this chapter are stem-changing verbs. So we're going to kind of take a moment just to go all the way back to day 1 here. You started out learning about regular verbs, which you know end in AR, ER, or IR. You learned in the beginning to chop off your AR and add back the appropriate endings. O, as, a, amos, ais, and an for an AR verb. You learned for an ER verb to chop off your ER and add back the appropriate endings. Here you found o, es, e, amos, es, and en. And for an IR verb, you learn to chop off that IR and add the appropriate IR endings. O, es, e, imos, is, and en. So, we've already talked about your regular verbs. The first thing you learned about, the first stem changing verb that you learned about at least, were E to IE stem changing verbs. So let's begin by taking a look at the verb empezar, which actually means to begin. So let's begin, empecemos. Empezar, we're looking at the verb empezar. You already know what to do here. You're carrying it down in all the boxes. The first thing we're going to do is change the E to an IE. And people always say, well, Senor Harrison, how do I know which E to change? There's two E's here. Well, you're never going to change the first E if it comes up as the first letter of your word. That wouldn't make sense. It's got to be the middle one. So we change this middle E to an IE. As you know, it only changes when it's inside the boot. So all of the forms except for the nosotros and vosotros. Next, we're going to remove our AR and add the appropriate AR ending. So we get empiezo, empiezas, empieza, empezamos, empezáis, and empiezan. Notice the E does not change to an IE in the nosotros or vosotros forms. And here you can see the boot has been drawn for you. Let's keep, oh, and by the way, these are some common E to IE stem changing verbs. You saw a lot of these in your last chapter. Comenzar, to begin. Empezar, to begin. Pensar, to think. Entender, to understand. Preferir, to prefer. Perder, to lose. You had lots of practice with these, but just to give you a little try, I want you to try here on your own the verb querer for me, please. On your own. When you're ready, you can unpause. Okay, so now to get a second to look at this, let's try. Querer, we're going to start by changing our E to an IE. Again, there are two E's here. We know it can't be the second E that changes because we end up chopping off that ER and adding some endings, right? So we're going to change this E to an IE in all the boxes except for the nosotros and the vosotros. We're going to chop off our ER and add the appropriate endings. O, es, e, hemos, es, en. So we end up with quiero, I want. Quieres, you want. Quiere, he or she wants. Queremos, we want. Querés, you all in Spain want. And quieren, they want. So that's a brief little recap of your E to IE stem changing verbs. But if you remember from before, the E to IE is only one of the four types of stem changing verbs that exist in the Spanish language. So today we're going to learn about O to UE stem changers, E to I stem changers, and U to UE stem changers. The good news is they work the same way. They only change when they're inside the boot. They do not change in the nosotros and the vosotros form. That was the case for E to IE stem changers, and it will be the case for all the others as well. So let me give you an example. Take this verb poder as an example. Poder means to be able to, and poder is an O to UE stem changing verb. But Mr. Harrison, how do I know which O to change? Well, there's only one, so that helps. As we take a look here at poder, we're going to go ahead and carry it down in all the boxes. We're going to change our O to a UE in all of the forms except for the nosotros and the vosotros because they're not inside the boot. Next, we're going to chop off our ER. We're going to add the appropriate endings for an ER verb. O, es, e, hemos, es, and en. And we're finished. Puedo, I'm able to. Puedes, you are able to. Puede, he or she is able to. Podemos, we are able to. Podéis, you all in Spain are able to. And pueden, they are able to. Again, you can see these are all boot verbs. They only change inside the boot. They do not change in the nosotros and vosotros forms, which are outside of the boot. Here are some common O to UE stem changing verbs that you see commonly in the Spanish language. Some are a little more morbid than others. You have the verb costar, to cost, devolver, to return, encontrar, to find, llover, to rain, morir, to die, soñar, to dream about, recordar, to remember. Just some common ones there. I want to give you a chance, now that we've talked about conjugating these O to UE stem changing verbs, I want you to take a moment, pause your audio, and please give this verb encontrar a try. See if you can figure it out. When you're ready, you can unpause. Okay, Now that you've had a second to try these, let's take a look. So encontrar, first thing we're going to do is carry it down in all of our boxes. We're going to change our O to a UE. There's only one O here, so we know which one to change. We're going to change it to a UE in all the boxes except for the nosotros and vosotros because they're not in the boot. Next, we're going to remove our AR, and we're going to add the appropriate endings for an AR verb. So we get encuentro, encuentras, encuentra, encontramos, encontráis, and encuentran. So we've taken those all the way through. Let's give you one more to try. Try the verb volver, which means to return, like to return from somewhere. Go ahead and take a moment, pause your audio, give this one a try. Okay, now that you've had a try, let's take a look. We're going to start by carrying down volver in all of our boxes. We're going to change our O to a UE in every box except for the nosotros and vosotros, because those are not inside the boot. We're going to chop off our ER, and now we're going to add our appropriate ER ending. So we get vuelvo, I return. Vuelves, you return. Vuelve, he or she returns. Volvemos, we return. Volvéis, you all in Spain return. And vuelven, they return. Okay, I want to give you a little bit more practice here with these O to UE stem changing verbs. Un poco práctica de gramática, if you will. It tells us here this activity is titled Un concierto de música rock. A rock music concert. Okay, we're going to go see Los Rebeldes, the rebels. So let's take a look here. All of these questions, 1 through 6, are all using the verb poder, to be able to. So it tells us that nosotros queremos ir a un concierto el viernes o el sábado, pero ¿cuándo? We want to go to a concert on Saturday or Friday, but when? Yo no poder ir el viernes en la noche porque tengo que trabajar. I am not able to go on Friday at night because I have to work. So I'm not able to go. We know we're going to be using the yo form. So we're going to take our verb poder here. We're going to change our O to a UE. We're chopping off the ER in poder. And we're adding back an O on the end to say I'm not able to. Yo no puedo ir. Let's do one more. Number 2 tells us that Manolo no, and we're filling in the blank with poder, ir el sábado en la noche. So Manolo, he's not able to go on Saturday night. So Manolo, to say that he's not able to go, we know we're using our bottom left form, our él, ella, usted box, if you will. We're going to take this verb poder. We're going to change our O to a UE. And chopping off the ER, we're adding an E on the end to get puede. He's not able to go. I want you to take a moment, please, and try the rest of these, numbers 3 through 6. When you're ready, you can unpause. All right, so let's take a look at these. Number 3 tells us that Ana y Miguel are not able to go on Friday night. And on Saturday en la tarde, on Saturday afternoon, no van a estar aquí. They're not going to be here. So to say that Ana and Miguel, that they are not able to go, we're going to take this verb poder. We're changing our O to a UE. We're going to remove the ER in poder and add back an EN. So pueden, pueden. They are not able to go. Same thing with number 4, talking about Enrique y su hermano, Enrique and his brother. Say they're not able to go. Again, pueden. Be very careful with number 5. We ask here, y Tony, and Tony, tú no blank ir el sábado en la noche. And Tony, you can't go on Saturday night. People always see Tony here and they want to conjugate it to she. But in this case, we have the tú form, you. So Tony, you aren't able to go. Tú no puedes ir el sábado en la noche. And finally, number 6, ¿cuándo ir todos nosotros? When are we all going to be able to go? Well, in this case, nosotros, the we form, we do not have to change the O to a UE in poder. We're going to chop off our ER here, and we're adding back an EMOS. So, ¿cuándo podemos ir todos nosotros? Okay, so we've talked about E to IE stem changers, talked about O to UE stem changers. Let's take a quick look here at E to I stem changing verbs. Now, this is where it gets tricky because you know about E to IE stem changers. As we look at the E to I's, you kind of have to memorize which verb has an E to IE stem change and which verb has an E to I. So, this verb, repetir, is an E to I stem change. It is the second E, the one that I've underlined, that changes from an E to an I. So just like the others, we're going to carry down repetir in our boxes. We're going to change that second E to an I. in all of our boxes except for the nosotros and vosotros because they're not inside the boot. We're going to chop off our IR in repetir and add our appropriate IR endings back. So we get repito, repites, repite, repetimos, repetís, and repiten. Here are some common E to I stem changing verbs. Pedir, to ask for, servir, to serve, reír, to laugh, sonreír, to smile, and competir, to compete. Try one on your own. This is the verb servir, which I just said is a very common E to I stem changing verb. I want you to take a moment, pause your audio, give this one a try, and when you're ready, you can unmute. Okay, so let's take a look at these. We know the first thing we're going to do is carry down servir in all of our boxes. We're next going to change our E to an I in every form except for the nosotros and the vosotros, since they're not in the boot. We're going to remove our IR on the end and add our appropriate endings, o, es, e, imos, is, and en, which gives us sirvo, I serve, sirves, you serve, sirve, he or she serves, servimos, we serve, servís, you all in Spain serve, and sirven, they serve. Keeping this in mind, I want to give you an activity to practice now with these E to I stem changing verbs. All of these are going to use the verb pedir, to order, which is an E to I stem changing verb. Just so you can see it, it's right here. Pedir, E to I. Pido, pides, pide, pedimos, pedís, and piden. It gives you a food and a subject, so you can tell who is ordering what. And this goes along with our learning objective, to create sentences using stem changing verbs. So look at number one. It gives us tú, the you, and there's a chicken here, pollo. So we want to say that you order chicken. We're going to use the tú form. The tú form of pedir in this case is pides, and we got there from changing the E to an I, chopping off the IR and adding an ES. So our final answer should be that tú pides pollo, or tú pides el pollo, even better. Let's do another one. Number two tells us we're talking about mis amigas, my female friends. And we're saying that my female friends order, and it shows a picture of some rice. So let's start by talking about my female friends. We know my female friends would be they. So if we look at pedir, we're using our bottom right box, the they box. Notice we changed our E to an I. We chopped off the IR in pedir and added an EN. So mis amigas, my female friends, piden, they order. And we know the word for rice in Spanish is arroz. So mis amigas piden el arroz. They order the rice. I want you to take a moment here. Please try numbers 3 through 8. When you're ready, you can unpause your audio. All right, so let's take a look at these. Number 3 gives us the subject yo, and it shows us the picture of a cake, a pastel. So we're going to use the yo form of pedir and say yo pido, I put el postre here, the dessert. You could say yo pido el pastel as well, the cake. Either way, it should be pido from the verb pedir, changing your E to an I, chopping off the IR in the end and adding an O. Number 4, vosotros, and it has some vegetables. So we're going to use the vosotros form of pedir here. Pedís, be careful, there's an accent on the I there. Vosotros pedís. And we're saying that vosotros pedís la ensalada, a salad, or if you said there were vegetables, las verduras, either one. Number 5, mi madre, my mom. We know that my mom would be she. So we're using our bottom left box, pide, to say that mi madre pide, and that's a steak, el bistec. Number 6, we have Maribel. Looks like she's ordering some potatoes, some patatas. So again, Maribel would be she. We're going to use the él, ella, usted form of pedir to say that Maribel pide las patatas. She orders the potatoes. Number 7, mis abuelos y yo. My grandparents and I, and it shows a plate of vegetables, verduras. We know that my grandparents and I would be we. So be very careful here. We're going to take pedir and chop off the IR, but we're not changing the E to an I because remember the nosotros form is not inside the boot. So we should say, mis abuelos y yo pedimos las verduras. And finally, number 8, we have ustedes, and it looks like some fish there, pescado. To say that you all order, our bottom right box, we should say ustedes piden el pescado. You all order the fish. Piden el pescado. Okay, hopefully you're feeling good about your vocabulary here related to transportation, places in a city, and food vocabulary. Also, hopefully you're feeling well about your stem changers, including E to IE, O to UE, and E to I stem changers. I want to just wrap up by telling you about the last type of stem changer that exists in the Spanish language. Again, you know E to IE stem changers, you know O to UE stem changers, and you know E to I stem changers. The final type of stem change that exists in the Spanish language are U to UE stem changers. There's only one verb in the whole language that has a U to UE stem change, and that's the verb jugar, which means to play. So you can probably guess what to do here because you know how all other stem changers work. For jugar, we're going to start by carrying down the verb jugar in all of our boxes. We're going to change our U to a UE in every form except for the nosotros and vosotros because those are not inside the boot. We're going to chop off our AR in jugar and add our appropriate AR endings, o, as, a, amos, ais, and an. And we end up with juego, juegas, juega, jugamos, jugáis, and juegan. So I play, you play, he or she plays, we play, you all in Spain play, and they play. Guys, we have come full circle. Now you should be able to identify vocabulary related to places and events in a town, types of transportation, and foods and beverages. You should be able to demonstrate understanding of stem changing verbs and create sentences using those stem changing verbs. Guys, it has truly been a pleasure having the opportunity to be your instructor this semester. If you have any questions at any point, or if you ever need a reference letter or whatever it may be, please don't hesitate to ask. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful break, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.